that to the top there, it's actually crossing the state line into areas of Iowa. All right, but now the one we're focusing on, oh, look, they just extended that. That tornado warning now has been extended from Stanberry, okay, over to Albany. We talked about Albany. You see how they just expanded all that? Okay, so let's take a look at that and see if the rotation probably still there. Let me kind of go in and look at this. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right, thank you very much. And then let's see, velocity, yeah. All right, now what I've done here, this is the storm wind. Anywhere I see the green and the red contrast, like right over Stanberry and then just west of there to the left, you can see this is where you have the possible also rotation being detected on the radar. When I look at the shear rate, it's right over Stanberry. What that means is the rotation now is right over Stanberry. Stanberry, I hope you're in your safe spots as of right now. We don't have confirmation as of yet, basically, of anything on the ground, but with the rotation there, that thunderstorm producing rotation, no doubt, could produce a tornado at any time. And this is why, always as a precaution, we issue the tornado warnings, or a tornado warning is issued to have people go ahead and be safe until this thunderstorm clears the area. All right, so let me kind of go a little farther out, and let's see. Let me kind of do a couple of buttons here and get... Okay, it's not going to let me do that. That's okay. We'll just kind of move things over here, kind of get a closer look at the reflectivity and velocity. Yeah, I'm seeing that right there. Okay. And the reflectivity, quite a bit of heavy rainfall with this. There you go. I put it in radar mode just for a second, just kind of get an idea. You guys see the hook echo on there? You see Stanberry? It wraps around. It looks like a hook there just west of Stanberry. That's where your strongest rotation would be. And as it continues to update, it's really not losing its form at all. Wind speeds, damaging winds possible for Albany. Albany, you're under this tornado warning now, but you're going to be getting some moderate rainfall even as we speak very shortly. I'm going to step away just for a second. In fact, could you go to chroma key just for a second? And we'll kind of get thank you very much. I'm going to set something back here as we look at this and kind of get a better idea of what we're dealing with when it comes to this tornado. I'm going in the Weather Center. I'm going to modify something here, just get a better look at all this, kind of give you a better perspective of this. As we look at Stanberry, okay, we kind of get the idea. I'm going to put a little track on this, especially for those of you like in Albany and so forth. I want to figure out exactly who's going to be affected at what time, and nicely we can do this, kind of give you an idea. So I'm going to put this here. We're going to go about 30 miles an hour. Well, we'll go to, let's see, let me zoom it out just really quickly here and kind of give you an idea. Get a little more there. There we go. All right. Kind of get you're kind of looking at, I'm just kind of an idea. There we go. Stanberry, you stay put now. Don't come out from your safe place until we get a better look at all this. Basically, Albany around 620 to 621. That's kind of want to get an idea as we look at this thunderstorm. All right. Let me kind of jump into chroma key and kind of give you a better perspective of what I'm looking at. I'm coming over to the what we call the green screen, kind of analyze this with you together. All right, now this thunderstorm, basically what it was doing was moving in a northeast direction, bringing with it possible damaging winds and possible damaging hail. It was worth keeping an eye out, had a lot of energy to it. It started to turn to the right, and eventually, as it turns to the right, feeding off a little more moisture, things made it a little more unsettled, okay? And all of a sudden, you start getting the rotation. Rotation on the back of this. When I say hook, it's right here, and it's right over Stanberry. The rotation that we had that's been detected has been now over Stanberry and partly just east of there. So those of you in Stanberry, no doubt, stay in your location, your safe place. Those of you ahead of this, Albany, you've got plenty of time right now. We're giving you a heads up just in case something does drop from this thunderstorm and produces a tornado. You want to go ahead and take this seriously and get to your lowest level, which would be your basement. If you don't have a basement, your lowest level of your home. Usually you want to stay away from the outer windows, outer walls. Go to somewhere towards the center of your main level of your home. Sometimes it's a hallway, it's even a restroom, so forth like that. and just kind of be there until this storm does pass. This does include New Hampton, Missouri, actually. Now, you're getting just some light rainfall, but look what's heading your way. You're already getting the moderate heavy rainfall for Albany. That extends even farther west. The back end of the storm, where most of the time your tornadic activity occurs, is still over areas like Stanberry. And again, this is radar indicated. I want to stress that. We have not had any reports as of yet of a tornado on the ground, but the rotation's there. That means it's like the beginning stages of one developing, and that's why a tornado warning has been issued, and it will continue to be issued as long as it shows the rotation until this storm begins to weaken a bit. And as of right now, it has not weakened. So when you look at Stanberry moving eastward, let's say about 35 miles an hour, I think I did the thing about 621, 622. If this holds together, would affect those of you in Albany around 620. So you've got a good 18 minutes of warning before something like this could possibly hit your area. And those of you north of Albany, even though it's a precaution, and those of you north of Albany still have the tornado warning that's in effect for you, that's going to continue to be in effect, and you need to take this seriously also, because look how broad and wide this thunderstorm is. It covers quite a bit of real estate when you talk about this thunderstorm. Out to the west, there's more thunderstorm activity, but notice we don't have any warnings with that because the wind speeds aren't considered damaging. So our main focus is going to be, especially with this tornado warning for the next little bit, until we see this thing cleared up. We're going to stay on this and kind of give you an update and what all is going on. All right, I'm going to walk back in here and kind of do something really quickly and kind of give you a better perspective of what we're expecting to happen. All right, I'm going to zoom this out just a bit, kind of give you guys an idea of where we're talking about. All right, you can see now Kansas City, metro area, you're completely rain-free. I mean, there's not much going on for most of the people who watch KMBC 9 News. All of eastern Kansas, rain-free at this time. Most of all of western Missouri, rain-free, except for the extreme northwest portions when you talk about Missouri. And now we're focusing on areas like Gentry County with the tornado warning in effect. And I think this one is until about 6:30. That does include Albany, also in New Hampton. All right. As we look at this, I'm going to look at the shear rate and kind of get an idea of here. We look at a little bit of rotation still being detected there in Stanberry. As we look at that, and it continues to track eastward around 35 miles an hour. So those of you in Stanberry, stay where you are until this back end of the storm moves out of your area. We will let you know when that happens, but this gives you plenty of time, Albany, also New Hampton, to get to your safe place as this storm continues to approach. Reflectivity-wise, let me go back. What we're looking at here is the contrast of the storm wind. I can see a little bit of contrast there where it can be possible. And obviously, it's very well defined. We look at the Hook area around Stanberry, just east of there now, to the right. Okay. Those of you like in Albany, getting the heavy rainfall even as we speak. If there's any hail, it could be the size of quarter-inch size hail or even greater. I actually saw a report earlier today. It wasn't that long ago, but earlier this afternoon, these two storms produced ping-pong size hail associated with, I think it was the one sort of moved across the state line into Iowa, but we're still getting quite a bit of heavy rainfall to the west of here. When you look at areas like just east of Maryville, when you look a little farther eastward like Ravenwood, but when you get to Stanberry, this is where our focus is going to be for the next little bit. All right, so let me step back out. Nick Bender is here. He's going to be stepping in and helping out quite a bit, and I'm going to be going back over and give you some analysis when I talk about the chroma key over here in front of the map. Nick, when you get a chance, just run some of the analysis for me and jump in when you can, okay? When you look at this, so the storm itself has been moving about 35 miles an hour. It doesn't seem to be letting up on speed. It did change its direction a little bit. Now it's moving kind of a due east. That's why now they've extended this tornado warning for areas like Albany on over to New Hampton. Now, the thunderstorm covers quite a bit of area, though, when you look at areas like Gentry County. And Gentry County, you're a big county. I mean, you cover quite a bit of landfall up there, but you can see how big this storm is. Stanberry, still under that possible rotation even as we speak. It looks like it's going to continue for the next little bit until we get more data that has moved in. Albany is under this tornado warning until at least about 6:30. And now the yellow boxes, they indicate severe thunderstorm warnings, but we're more concerned with the red box you see here, and that is your tornado warning. If you live anywhere within this rectangle, okay, that means you're under that threat of a possible tornado, and that's why you got to take this thing seriously. Those of you in Albany, you've had plenty of time, and I'll repeat it. If you have a basement, you want to go to the basement of your home. If you don't have a basement, it's usually the lowest level of your home. Your main floor could be a very safe place if you just go away from the outer walls, okay? Stay away from the windows. Go to areas like sometimes it's a hallway or a restroom, things like that. Turn the volume up on channel 9 and we will let you know when you're in the clear. For example, those of you in Stanberry, still in your safe mode right now, stay there until we see that this has actually moved to the east of you, and whether or not we are dealing with any more rotation and of course the heavy rainfall and also the potential of damaging hail associated with this. New Hampton, you're getting the moderate rainfall now. Looks like it'll be increasing. You'll get the heavy rainfall. You might get a little bit of hail out of this. Usually the hail and the heavy rainfall, usually in the same area. And on the back end of this thunderstorm, this is all moving west to east, where you have that chance the tornado would be in the back side of this. So, Nick, if you can you put me in the rotation mode a little bit on links 1? And, kind of give me an idea. Okay, thank you, Roy. This is our storm wind. A little bit of right here. I mean, when you start to see a little bit of the contrast of the rotation. Yeah, it's going to be a little east of Stanberry now. Very good. Thank you, Nick. I'm using my finger, and he has the magic to draw it on for me. And this now puts it barely east of Stanberry. Now, Stanberry, I'm not going to give you the all clear as of yet, so stay where you are. But we are getting some data now coming in that this rotation will be just east of Stanberry and southwest of Albany. Albany is getting the moderate rainfall, heavy rainfall probably by now. New Hampton, you're not getting much of the rainfall as of yet, but this thunderstorm is kind of covering quite a bit of real estate, and the back end of this, about right in here, is where we would detect some of that rotation. And the radar does a great thing where it actually detects the rotation in different levels of the thunderstorm itself. So we're not just relying on something that's on the ground. We're talking about, we're analyzing the different levels of that thunderstorm cloud from the base upward, and that's where we detect the rotation. And that's why we're able to give you a little bit of a heads up of what's going on. Now, we've zoomed this out. This is a metro area of Kansas City. And again, it's all quiet across east central Kansas, west central Missouri. You go far north, very close to the state line, you can see where you can see where the tornado warning has now been issued for those of you like in Gentry County. And right here is Stanberry. Now, Stanberry, this is encouraging. We're seeing this continue to move eastward. I'm not going to quite put you in the clear as of yet, but those of you in Stanberry, just be patient. It looks like it is continuing to move eastward, but our rotation is going to be right in here. And we talk about a hook echo. That's exactly what we have. I mean, look at the thunderstorm itself. Look at the back end of this kind of curling around. You can almost see how you have that rotation with this picture, right? Okay, and then we can take this, analyze the different levels, and I think the little bit of rotation is still there. So this is why the tornado warning has been issued. It's in effect until now 6:45, okay, for those of you in Gentry County, Missouri, right here, the information, 6:45 Central Time. And it's 6:45 because look how far the warning has been issued. And this is giving those of you like in New Hampton and Albany plenty of time to prepare for this, okay? I say this a lot, and it's worth repeating. Turn the television up so we can give you the all clear when it is cleared, or at least when the thunderstorm has weakened and we no longer see that tornadic threat. Okay, but in the meantime, this gives you plenty of warning to get people into the safe position. All right, he's putting a storm track on it. Thank you, Nick, so much for this. And kind of look at it. You get into a lot of the rural areas up here. Now, great populations, when you talk about Albany, New Hampton, Stanberry, we get that. But you get into in between these towns, you get a lot of farmland, so it's very difficult to track exactly who's affected. But there you go, Albany about 6:17. And this is based on how fast the storm has been moving, about 35 miles an hour to the east direction. Yes, sir?
There's rotation with that second storm behind it.
Behind here?
South
right
of
here?
Ravenwood.
Yeah, okay,
That's showing, I would say, comparable rotation to
Okay.
the storm that's under a tornado warning. There is no warning on that now, but that's going to be coming over some of the same areas that are being warned right now. So people
So-
might get that initial storm that passes through and think it's okay to come back out, but that back storm needs monitored as well.
That's a very, very good point, Nick, because those of you like in Stanberry, we're going to keep a close eye on this one right here. Now, if it moves due east, it's still going to impact areas of Stanberry and just barely north of there. So if you're in Stanberry, you're going to have to kind of ride this out a little bit, but you know what? If it's just radar indicated, that's what we want. We don't want the tornado actually on the ground. We've not had any confirmation as of yet as a tornado on the ground, but we do have the rotation being detected that could possibly drop that tornado and move across these areas. As of right now, and I'm glad Nick pointed that out because this is worth watching. We don't see any warnings with this storm as of yet, but the radar can detect the rotation. And if there's any rotation back in here, it is definitely worth watching. This is how this storm started out an hour ago. Little bit of rotation, all right, and little different levels. And then it got a little stronger and stronger. And by the time it moved just east of Stanberry and kind of drifted more to an east direction, then the tornado warning was issued because of the stronger rotation being detected. All right, so the data's been updated just a little bit. You can see now they've dropped part of that tornado box just north of Stanberry. But, you know, again, let me reiterate, we're not going to say everything's going to be better from now on for Stanberry because guess what? This one in Ravenwood, we're going to keep a close eye on. I'm glad Nick's in here helping out because he can do analysis and check things out while I give you the information coming across. Albany, you're getting the heavy rainfall now. If you're getting any hail, it could be the size of any quarter-size inch or maybe even an inch-size hail with this. We actually had ping-pong-size hail report a little earlier this afternoon with these same storms that you're kind of watching on the radar. New Hampton, you're getting the moderate rainfall as the storm continues to track eastward. This gives us a better indication. Look how it's just all moving eastward now, okay? West to east, again, around 35 miles an hour. Look at that rotation. Yeah, right there. South of Albany now, it is east of Stanberry, but remember Stanberry, we're watching right there. Little bit of light rotation west northwest of Stanberry. Nick pointed out the rotation there in that second storm. We're going to keep an eye on that. But the bulk of it right now is this one. And the tornado warning in the box you see here includes Albany, New Hampton until I think it was 6:45, right, Nick? Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
6:45.
Yeah. Gentry County, Missouri until 6:45. And that will continue to track it in the east direction around 35. Yeah, I mean, Nick, I mean, you've dealt with these also. I'm glad you pointed out the one from near Ravenwood. But you know, I've not seen the one for Stanberry and Albany weaken this past 30 minutes or so. I mean, it continues to track eastward. I think the rotation is definitely still there, but I have not. Have you heard anything, Nick, of anything, confirmation of one on the ground or anything?
I was trying to go through chat, and there were some reports of a brief touchdown that's going to be with a lead supercell. So there were some reports of either a funnel cloud or a brief touchdown with that lead one that's moving over Albany, that's moving toward New Hampton, and eventually into Bethany. You know, that environment, Pete, out to the east is still favorable for intensification and for these storms to produce tornadoes. It's along that outflow boundary.
Okay, and
So-
that's why, and of course, you have, when you see the counties under the tornado watch, that's why you have all these counties listed.
I think you're spot on with that. That's
Yeah.
why you still have that watch out there. If you're not under a warning right now and you're in that watch, you know, those will likely be the two storms of significance for the rest of the evening. There doesn't appear to be any other storms developing back to the south and west, so that's good. But the bad news is that storms that can latch onto that outflow boundary and continue to the east toward places like Ridgeway and Bethany and maybe even Trenton, you know, later this evening could still produce tornadoes, have the potential to produce tornadoes.
And I know on our group chat earlier today, I mean, even before I came into work, all six of us in the weather team here, I know, Nick, you were pointing out a lot of dynamics with this even before I came into work. So it's been monitored quite a bit, and things are so unsettled right now with this. I mean, I know a lot of people are excited to have this this beautiful day of hot summer-like weather and 90 degrees, but there's more to it than just that. Dynamically in the atmosphere, we're dealing with a lot of involvement, I'll say that nicely, and north of Kansas City. And it has been our main concern today, northwest Missouri, north central Missouri, extreme northeast Kansas there for a bit, but it seems like the bulk of it is going to be on the Missouri side. And lo and behold, look what happened. Thunderstorms started to develop in extreme northeast Kansas, northwest Missouri, and they continue to track now. They were moving northeast at one time and then started moving eastward. And then we even saw a couple of thunderstorms merge earlier, kind of coming together. But now this one is really holding together. I mean, very, very strong. Look at this. A little bit there. I mean, it's still there. The rotation is still there, just southwest of Albany. Albany is getting the moderate to heavy rainfall. It extends back around. You see the little bit of hook echo there. And again, Nick was talking about near Ravenwood, especially south of there, just a little bit of light rotation being detected. Nothing's been issued with that as of now, but it's worth watching as it gets a little stronger and continues to move in the eastward direction. You got something else?
So another thing that we need to consider too, I've had some pictures tweeted to me, a well-defined wall cloud that's there, that's moving toward Albany. That storm, by the time our radar beam makes it up to Albany, right where Pete is pointing, he's spot on there, Pete, right where he's pointing, that's about 9,000 feet above the ground. So we can't see down near the part of the storm that could be producing the tornado. So that rotation could actually be a lot stronger than what we're seeing on First Alert Live radar, because we just can't scan that low because of the curvature of the earth. So if you're in Albany, those communities that Pete has been mentioning, Albany, it's too close to call, New Hampton, Bethany, let's make the decision of least regret all the way over to Bethany. That's your first alert that you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now. We do have spotters that are in the area that have been reporting well-defined wall clouds, which are precursors for tornadoes. So I'm getting that on Twitter right now from some pictures that are coming in.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's why these warnings are also expanded out to so many areas, because of what he said. It affects everybody and also gives you a heads up on what's going on. All right, so this is back in the radar mode. We're still looking at that. You said a possible wall cloud being just southwest of Albany. That puts it right in here where we also the radar detected the rotation in this back end of the thunderstorm. And just like Nick noticed and said, those of you even north of Albany, also especially in New Hampton, this bulk of the storm is going to be moving in this track in this area, east direction, 35 miles an hour. Those of you like in Stanberry, I wouldn't give you all clear just yet, because I want to keep watching this right here. If it does turn to the right or if it stays to the due east, of course, we don't know if it's going to back build and actually affect Stanberry again. However, that's why we do this. This is why we're on the air, and you're watching us in real time. Nick and I are analyzing this as new data comes in, as we look at the radar imagery and kind of get a better idea. And with it being so far from the radar site, sometimes it gets a little difficult. And he's right, the curvature of the earth and so forth. But we live in a day and age where this technology does save lives, and that's why we got to look at it and analyze it and get to your warning. You know what? I was just telling some of my students earlier this week, your key months of severe weather for us are April and May. So don't think just because it's 90 degrees that it's just summer and things are going to be really quiet. We are under that severe weather threat all the way through at least until the end of May. And this is what we're detecting even now with this one strong thunderstorm. This is Albany. This is back in rotation mode. And when you look at it, most of the rotation, the bulk of it, and this is different levels of the thunderstorm itself, is going to be just south of Albany, but it is moving due east. I'll step out just a second, and he's put a storm track on here to kind of give you an idea. And as that continues to move, and what you're looking at, the storm track is based on the rotation. So if there were a tornado from this thunderstorm, it would be right there in the green and darker red shading of that. You see that on your screen. And if it's moving east around 35 miles an hour, that is going to put it very close to areas just south of New Hampton, also Bethany, Missouri. Albany, heavy rainfall right now. If there's any good news, at least right now, the rotation is just south of there. But you may have friends and family just south of there, and those of you south of Albany should be in your shelter and your safe place even as we speak. Take this as if a tornado were reported on the ground, because with a strong rotation, it is a strong possibility that this could drop one. Wall cloud's been detected, as Nick said earlier.
Saw some chasers
Funnel cloud
Funnel
on
cloud, yeah.
this? Okay, so storm chasers are reporting a funnel cloud, which is dropping from that area of the thunderstorm. And again, take your shelter immediately, which will be in your basement, your lowest level of your home, okay? If you don't have a basement, your lowest level should work just fine if you stay away from the outer walls and windows. Just think about how you're going to protect yourself and your family and your loved ones. The more you can put between you and the outside. So sometimes that is a hallway, sometimes it is a closet. It might even be a bathroom, okay? Anywhere it's away from the outer walls of the house, go to the center part, turn up the volume on your television, or you're following us on an app or whatever, as long as you can hear our voices and be able to monitor this storm, those of you like in the Albany and New Hampton area. You know what, Nick, this thing, I don't know, maybe, I keep saying it's moving 35 miles an hour, but this thing seems like it's taken a long time to drift eastward. But I guess when you do put it in a loop, it makes it, yeah, I guess so. Maybe about 30 to 35 miles an hour due east, all right? So, I mean, just west of there, it looks like things are getting a little quiet now for Stanberry, which is good. But the one just north of there, we want to keep an eye out. What is the one, I'm just curious, and I don't see any, but the one just south of there, Nick, are we, that's a new thunderstorm?
Yes.
Okay.
Not showing any signs of rotation, but
Okay.
as that storm over King City drifts to the north, what concerns me is storm mergers. And as that storm merges with either the storm that's to the north of Stanberry, that would likely be the storm that it merges with. That's what would concern me with that storm having a heightened potential of producing a tornado. That's why this Albany storm is producing a wall cloud and a funnel cloud. It was because of a storm merger, that storm, that you're pointing to right there.
Yeah. I was going to say, we had actually partial merger earlier, and you're seeing it kind of just adds a strength to it. So he's talking about referring to this one. This is a new one, you said, that's formed, but it's right now not much of a threat as of right now.
That rotation's looking stronger with the Albany storm.
Okay, can I see that again? I'm sorry, I was looking
Sure.
at the farthest south. He's going to put the rotation back on.
And it's tough with this here monitor up here, Pete. For some reason, it's not wanting to zoom in with me, so I can't pan with it, so I'll have to run back into the Weather Center.
That's
but
okay.
It's going to be southeast of Albany. You know, those
Right here.
greens and reds, they're brighter,
Yeah, right there. I see it.
which would be stronger rotation.
That is stronger rotation. This is south and east, southeast of Albany. And if it stays at an east track at 35 miles an hour, that's going to keep it south of New Hampton. However, those of you who live anywhere between here, just south of Albany, south of New Hampton, you've got some rotation going on with that storm. And, well, it looks like a wall cloud and a funnel cloud have been spotted. Okay, storm chasers have confirmed a funnel cloud. Funnel cloud is basically, you're starting to see the rotation dropping from the back of that thunderstorm. Once that, if it does, reach to the ground, then it officially becomes a tornado. So a funnel cloud is a very serious step. So we've gone from picking up the rotation in the thunderstorm itself, all right, strong rotation within the thunderstorm itself, and now we're just kind of waiting to see if it drops. Well, the next step would be the funnel cloud. And there are reports of a funnel cloud right here. And that's where Nick was pointing out the rotation. You go south and east of Albany, right in this look right there. And we talk about the hook echo. It's right there with that hook on the radar, right there. You see where my finger is? And that's where your rotation is going to be. It will continue to track eastward, and it'll be just south of Hampton. So if a tornado does develop, we already have the funnel cloud. If a tornado does develop, it's going to be glided along, unless it changes anything of the direction, it'll be gliding just south of New Hampton. But New Hampton, we want you to take this as if it were heading towards you. You are dealing with the severe thunderstorm that's producing this possible tornado even as we speak. So you're going to get some not only heavy rainfall like you're getting now, some possible damaging winds, and you're also going to get possibly 1-inch size or greater hail with this storm. And then on the back end of this, as we look at it, right with this hook area, you're dealing with a possible tornado. that will be tracking in the eastward direction. All right, this tornado warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service, which includes all this area in your red box, that's until 6:45. Right now we're at 6:25, so we still have some time to watch this and analyze it and to see if it's going to hold together. A lot of juice out there, a lot of energy, and Nick pointed this out. I mean, we're only at 6:25 in the afternoon, evening hours. We still have plenty of daylight, a lot of sunlight heating up the ground out there, and we've got, this is why we got to keep a close eye on this with the tornado watch in effect until 11 o'clock tonight Central Time. And this is why we got to watch these thunderstorms that pop up and move rather quickly through. New Hampton with the moderate rainfall. Bethany, okay, you're going to be in this path. Basically, Bethany with the moderate rainfall right now, boy, that puts it really close. When you look at the rotation of this thunderstorm and it continues to track east, it's going to be really close to Bethany, and this would be about 6:34. So we're talking about probably just 8 to 9 minutes from now with that possible with the funnel cloud. You got something else?
I drew that storm track to not only include the part of the storm that is capable of producing a tornado, but also the part of the storm that's capable of producing golf ball size hail. This supercell has a history of producing hail almost of the size of 2 inches. So I want to include that threat in there. Of course, we are focused on the tornado potential with this tornado warning, but communities like New Hampton over to Bethany do need to be prepared for what could be golf ball size hail or larger, along with that possible tornado. Still no confirmations there, Pete. And I'm also looking to see if this storm is producing any debris from wind from a tornado.
Right.
I can't quite say that right now to confirm
Nothing been
that.
detected debris-wise?
It doesn't look like that. Again, it's in a tough spot of the state because I can only see, 9,000 feet down. I can't see down closer to the ground where we would see that debris signature, but I'm monitoring that along with chaser reports coming out of the area. But it's a hail threat and it's a tornado threat as it just hugs that boundary. I mean, that environment out ahead of there is so soupy. I don't know what's going to cause this storm to weaken as it approaches I-35 in Bethany over the next 30 to 60 minutes.
He's right. There's a reason why the tornado watch is issued until 11 o'clock tonight because everything's so unsettled. And most of it is on the Missouri side. It is on the Missouri side in northern counties, extending into areas of Iowa. And that's a lot of landfall, a lot of real estate that's going to has to deal with this. And we're not talking about even these widespread moderate to heavy rainfall, like all these areas, they're not going to get any rainfall. I wish we were, because that would tell me to be a little more stable than what we're getting now. You get these isolated thunderstorms. This is where the action happens. This is where you get the tornadic activity that could pop up with these isolated strong thunderstorms feeding off the environment and the dynamics of it. Nick is drawing exactly where that rotation is, and we're still looking at southeast Albany, and this is New Hampton. So if this continues to track east-northeast direction, that puts it, I hope it stays just south of New Hampton, but it doesn't matter where it goes. Someone's going to be affected by this. But we'll also kind of give you an idea. Here's Bethany, Missouri, along the interstate there, I-35. You go west of Bethany into New Hampton. You go west of New Hampton into Albany. New Hampton, Albany, southward. This is where that severe thunderstorm is producing probably some damaging winds with this. And then right where Nick has drawn this is where we're detecting. See the contrast between the red and the green? That is showing our rotation, okay? The colors representing wind flow away from the radar site, wind flow towards the radar site. And guess what that does? It gives you this, wind shear. It shows us where the rotation would be, especially, this is geared towards more the surface, I think, or the lowest level of this storm right there. And he's looking at it. Now this is in radar mode where we look at the precipitation. Obviously the darker colors here are going to be your heaviest rainfall, possible hail, and then the hook showing that movement of the wind flow, possible rotation there. That is right where the tornado would be if it drops. So nothing more been added to more than a wall cloud being reported, also a funnel cloud, okay? The next step would be an actual tornado on the ground.
I think what we're beginning to see now is some storm merger taking place on this storm. You can see the thunderstorm, exactly. That thunderstorm that's south of Stanbury. You see how that front edge of that thunderstorm is being sheared off and wrapped around the hook?
Yeah.
I think that is having some effect on this storm. It could be injecting a little bit more moisture into that storm, could result in a lower wall cloud, could also result in the rotation of that supercell that's over New Hampton, South Albany to intensify. I think that's why we're seeing those stronger velocity signatures, which would indicate there's stronger rotation, which would mean there's a higher potential for a tornado to develop, which is why that tornado warning is in place. So if you're South Albany, I still think you need to be in your tornado shelter. If you are in New Hampton or south of New Hampton, you need to be in your tornado shelter. And I would say downstream here, Bethany, if you're north or south, see how that's looking stronger, Pete, just on reflectivity. I would say if you're in Bethany, you're not under a tornado warning right now, but this is your first alert. It is 6:30 on the dot. I would start thinking about going to where I would need to be for a tornado warning for Bethany, or if you are south on I-35, a few miles south of Bethany. We need to watch that closely. That environment, as Pete has been saying all evening, it's favorable for low-level rotation, for strong supercells that have the potential of producing tornadoes. That's why there's a tornado watch in place there.
And he's exactly right. And this is one of our concerns, one of our several concerns today, was the fact that it can feed off one another. And we talked about the merging. You're kind of looking at a classic of it here. And this is like a classroom event of just saying, okay, look how this thunderstorm, we talked about this earlier, Nick and I would say, oh, look at the one that just developed just southwest of this storm. And there you have it, kind of feeding into this, the back end. And look at the return on that. Ooh.
That looks stronger, unfortunately, doesn't it?
Wow.
Let me, I want to go in here and I just want to pixel query some of this in here.
Go ahead.
And again, this is, hang on, this is a little bit closer here. I want to make sure we say that this is tough because it's so high off the ground, but there's some stronger velocities in here which would indicate a mature supercell, strongly rotating, with the potential of producing a tornado. So you've got about 80 and 60, 140, about 70 miles per hour of rotation in there at 9,000 feet. That's enough for us. That's enough to trigger the tornado warning.
That's the strongest I've seen so far. Okay, Nick. Nick's right. Been feeding off that. This is getting well defined also.
Yep.
Very interesting with the rotation now, showing the rotation even strengthening. I'm really, and I'm just guessing here. There's no reports. I'm really surprised that we've not heard of one being confirmed on the ground with this. Now, the last report we had regarding was a funnel cloud that had started forming from the back end of this thunderstorm. And that would put it right here, okay? And Nick pointed this out. When we have these other storms that develop in just southwest of it, kind of feeding into it, that's not good. We don't want these at all, but we have them, and it's worth watching. And now we've seen this feed into the back end of this thunderstorm, and we've seen the rotation actually strengthening. And again, Nick's right. Those of you, even though New Hampton, you may be just north of the possible rotation and the possible tornado, you got to take this as if you were in the tornado warning, and you are under the warning. Anybody in this. Also, Bethany, you've got, the good thing about the technology is, I know this is bad news of the thunderstorm, but the good news about the technology is giving advance notice. I mean, those of you in Bethany, you have plenty of notice now. Contact your friends, family, anybody you know lives along I-35 West area. Keep an eye on this storm, but you should let them know that just west of you, you have a tornado warning and a possible tornado on the ground. That is moving eastward. This thunderstorm been watching for, over an hour and a half at least. I know it just continued to strengthen. As we got on the news earlier, it continued to strengthen, and now we're dealing with the tornado warnings. And it may hold together for a bit, and I would not doubt if it holds together as it even passes by or very close to Bethany. Now, Nick is putting a storm track on this, and when you look at it, the 30 to 35 miles an hour, and again, you get into rural areas, I get that. I'm not saying no one lives up there. We know people live up there, but you get a lot of farmland that's in between these towns and these cities, and it's very difficult to kind of give you, the best we can do is take key points like New Hampshire and Bethany, and look at that, Nick, they just extended the tornado warning because of the strength of that rotation. So Bethany is now under a tornado warning.
I just thought we need to extend our storm track another 30 minutes, so for an hour, and as soon as I clicked that warning came on.
up.
So that that meshes.
And you know, the thing is, the warnings are actually issued by the National Weather Service, okay? And in this case, it'd be Pleasant Hill, Missouri. We are not authorized to issue any warnings. However, we have every right, and we do, to use our own radar, to look at the data, to give you heads up and so forth. And when this pops up immediately, that is a tornado warning that's been issued by the National Weather Service saying, okay, we see what they see. In other words, we've been looking at this rotation. It has strengthened. We better extend that tornado warning a little farther east, and that's exactly what they did. And now it includes Gilman City and especially Bethany. It is just south of Ridgeway, Missouri, but we're talking about a lot of areas here of Gentry County, you know, and then it continues to track in the eastward direction. Our main focus, though, right in this area with the hook echo is what we call it. That's where your tornado could possibly be forming. If it does hit the ground, it's going to be tracking in a due east direction along with this entire storm. That's the thing. This is your thunderstorm. It's a big thunderstorm. Isolated thunderstorm. It covers a lot of area, bringing moderate to heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning, of course, some hail, damaging winds. The tornado itself is right in this area location. So not everybody's going to get the tornado. However, if you're in the path of this area and it's tracking eastward, and that's where we say you've got to take this very seriously if one does form and drop from the thunderstorm in the back end. And most of these isolated supercells, you have the tornadoes that form in the back of the thunderstorm itself. Here's the front of it. That's east of I-35 in Bethany. And the back end of it is still just southeast of Albany, Missouri. And your tornado, possible tornado, is going to be just southeast of Albany, right in here in that area, with it a lot of moderate to heavy rainfall. Hail size, I saw one report earlier, ping pong size hail, but at least quarter-inch size hail or greater, or 1-inch size hail. 1-inch size hail or greater with this as the storm moves. All right, so Nick is doing some analysis on this. I'm just kind of watching as he kind of goes through it. We're going from, this is the radar image showing you the moderate to heavy rainfall. He also put it in what we call the rotation mode to kind of see what was there. You kind of get an idea. He's put some storm tracks on it for you. We're looking at the tornado warning now until 7:15. This is going to be the box. I'll step out but let them look at it just for a second. When you look at that, you see the tornado warning extended all the way across, not only past Bethany, but into Gilman City, okay? And now we're talking about south of Canesville. It's going to be probably holds together south of Princeton, Missouri. And we got to keep talking about these towns, especially as now we get close to north central Missouri. Nick, anything else new as you look at it?
Just from the spotters that are in the field there, Pete, and the radar, it looks like it's still holding its intensity. Occasionally there'll be some stronger surges of wind that kind of wrap around the backside of this hook. Let me draw that in here for you. It kind of comes around the backside of this hook, and it pushes that part of the storm out. It kind of pushes that rotation, some of the precipitation around, dust, dirt, and that's kind of getting sucked up in the inflow. So it's kind of messy in there right now doing the radar analysis, but still very capable of producing a tornado as it continues in easterly movement. I think that storm is going to follow the outflow boundary, which is laid out
Look at this, Nick.
Just east. Yeah, we got to watch that back storm too. You know, that back storm. Any storms that are in that area, Pete, this evening will have the potential to produce very large hail and even tornadoes because there's just so much wind shear maximized along that outflow boundary, which we say outflow boundary, that's a difference in temperature in wind direction. You know, south of the outflow boundary, you know, it's warmer, it's more humid, a little cooler on the north side. You'll get south to southeast winds on the south side of the outflow boundary, and then the winds come along on the east, and that turning of the wind, not only across the outflow boundary, but vertically with height, that's what's giving these storms their rotation, why they pose the risk of tornadoes as they kind of continue off to the east. You know, we could even see what we would call kind of downstream warnings here, Pete. I can't zoom out with this radar here at this pod, but Spickard, you know, south of Princeton to Spickard, you know, eventually here in the next hour or so.
Yeah, let me step out. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. On the far right of your screen there, Princeton.
I can zoom out with it
Yeah,
back here on this computer. There you go.
There you go.
But Spickard,
Yeah.
you know, when you get east there,
You start
you know,
moving this.
that's a storm you got to watch.
And you know, and what's interesting is it actually started out at 35 miles an hour in a northeast direction. And what caught my attention is right before Nick got here was that this storm was actually drawn out to go in a northeast direction, but all of a sudden it started turning to the right a little bit. And these things are now just moving due east, especially about 30 to 35 miles an hour. And so far, since that point, since Albany area, it has been due east, and we're going to keep a close eye on that, but it's just feeding off a lot of dynamics of moisture and so forth, and causing it to what we call a slightly right mover. It has strengthened a little bit, the hook echo back here. Again, we've not heard anything more than a funnel that's been reported, but boy, let me tell you, that's enough. When you detect the rotation with our equipment, that the rotation is definitely there, the National Weather Service is going to issue a tornado warning even when there's strong rotation in a thunderstorm. They do that so that we can give you the heads up to go ahead and pretend, or heads up that it could be forming now, and to take cover immediately. And that's what's happened so far in this case. There has been reports of a wall cloud and then a report of a funnel cloud. Okay, let me tell you what, that's almost all your steps except for the actual tornado on the ground. Might have been a brief touchdown. I think Nick said he saw reported of a brief touchdown of a tornado. But the storyline is, this is a thunderstorm that's producing rotation and a possible tornado, and this is why we're on and telling you to take cover immediately. Those of you who live in Bethany, also just basically south of Bethany, and right here with the Hook area where the rotation is the strongest, where the possible tornado could be, is moving in the eastward direction. That's going to take it very close, not only just south of Bethany, but also very close to Gilman City. But like he said earlier, Spickard, you're going to be in this path if it holds together. And we keep looking at this, and just like anyone else, we hope it will weaken. We hope that it will start to reduce the rotation. So therefore we can say, okay, things are starting to look better for us, but at this time, we've not seen that at all. We've seen it strengthen over the last 30 to 40 minutes, and it has held together nicely as it continues to track eastward. The storm behind it, Albany, still some moderate to heavy rainfall for you. But again, if you were to look, and I'm not saying I want to show this, but if you were to look at the rest of all of you, like the Kansas City metro area, eastern Kansas, western Missouri, it is very quiet. He's really quick and great. Thank you, Nick. Look at this. It is quiet across eastern Kansas. It is quiet across western Missouri. Lots of sunshine, a heated day, probably a record high today. We're talking about 90 degrees. But then you travel along I-35 northbound, heading towards northern Missouri, northwest Missouri. I know it doesn't look like much here because we're showing you about 44 counties that we cover, and Gentry County is one of them that we're responsible for, and we're going to zoom in and look what they're getting. Those of you in Gentry County, take this seriously because, yes, a tornado warning is no doubt in effect until, what time was it, 6:45? No, the new one. I think
it's 7:15.
7:15, you're right, 7:15, because it extended over to areas like Gilman City. Boy, is it just me, or is it just kind of taking its good old time and moving eastward? Maybe it's just the mood I'm in of just dealing with this.
Here, we can do it real time here, so it's...
All right, let's do it. Let's see it.
Let's see what the real speed is here.
This is just when it started moving out of Stanberry at 6:13. Okay.
So you got your finger there just
All
to
right.
the... Got it right here, and let me... Again, this is a little squirrely up here at this pod. I'm going to take it from about there
30 minutes.
to about the Hook. That's a 30-minute loop, so it's moving about 30 miles an hour.
Okay, 30 miles an hour. All right.
I agree with you. It doesn't seem like it, but it is moving. It's moving about 30.
It is moving.
Right along that boundary.
And here's the thing, it's not getting any weaker. That's the point we're pointing out, is that it's not getting weaker. In fact, it's strengthened within the last 15 minutes or so as we looked at the possible rotation with it. Bethany, moderate to heavy rainfall, and then of course the rotation we're watching is just southwest of you. It's going to be crossing and getting very close to I-35. Again, those of you, Bethany, eastward, if you know any family, relatives, friends who live within this, I'll step out, let you look at it. See the red box extending now, including Gilman City. Those of anyone who lives in that red box they're under a tornado warning, should take this seriously and be able to go to their safe place. And I should review that really quickly. Go to your basement. If you don't have a basement, usually the lowest level of your home, away from the outer walls and windows. Just imagine trying to protect yourself from what's outside to you. So the more wall space you can put, walls you can put between you and the outside, do so. That's what we say towards the middle or center point area of your lowest level floor. Possibly sometimes it's a restroom. It could be a hallway, closet, things like that. And that will give you a little more protection until the storm moves on through. Still, I guess, no confirmation of one on the ground, just a brief touchdown we've had earlier and also a funnel cloud. But the dynamics of it, we're still seeing the rotation with the back end. As long as the radar itself is just showing the hook echo like that, you're dealing with something very major and very strong with this. And again, Nick analyzed, I agree with him. I think it's more of a 30 mile per hour movement than 35. I think it's about 30 miles an hour to an east direction. Now, Albany's no longer under a warning, but you know what? I just be precautious. I would just say let's have some caution there and keep an eye on that. But the one we are focused on is right here for Bethany, New Hampton, and then of course those of you like in Gilman City and eastward, no doubt you want to take shelter immediately. Any new reports, anything you're reading from chat or out in the storm chasers?
Oh yeah, just fairly steady state. Again, it's so far up away from the radar. We're only able to see it 9,000 feet, 10,000 feet in some cases. So that's making it a little bit more difficult to determine what it's doing down at the ground, which of course is the most dangerous part there, down near the ground with the tornado. It still has rotation, still a supercell. Pictures that I've seen of it still indicate that it has a lower base, has a wall cloud. There's reports of occasional rotation. So you still have to respect that polygon that's in there. You know, Bethany's probably getting pounded by hail.
Yeah.
You know, probably quarter to maybe even golf ball size hail. And the thing that we need to watch with the storm too is if it occludes, you know, that the circulation, the rotation that we see now that's capable of producing the tornado kind of lags back farther to the west, and then you get a new area of rotation that develops farther to the east. It would look like it would kind of be over Interstate 35. Yeah, that's a possibility I don't want to take off the table. Again, that would occur farther or closer to the ground, which is going to be below the radar. So we would see that process after it already happened. It would look like the tornado or the rotation just jumped east by like 5 miles. But it's something that we're monitoring right now. That's why, you know, if you're in Gilman City or you're in unincorporated areas of Gentry County, we want you in your tornado safe spot right now. You know, not, you know, just because it's I want to wait until I see it. You know, this is your warning. This is your first alert. Go to your safe place right now. Bring us on the app. Turn your television volume up. Get to your tornado safe place. That way, if the power goes out, you can still, you know, watch our live coverage there on your smartphones or your iPads or whatever electronic device you have. And if it doesn't go out, you can hear us because your television's turned out. Yeah. You might not have the TV in your tornado safe place. If it's a closet, you know, you might have it in a basement though.
And one thing, Nick, you said something that sparked my memory. I mean, I know we're interrupting programming, but for a great cause. If I'm the number I recollect, 44 counties I think we're at least responsible for. And when we cover in areas like eastern Kansas, western Missouri, northwest Missouri, we're responsible in getting this information out to. It doesn't matter where you live in those 44 counties, we are going to be on TV to tell you what's going on, and those, especially like in Bethany and New Hampton, Missouri, and Gilman City, that tornado warning has been issued, and we are looking at a thunderstorm that could possibly be dropping a tornado at any time. And this is what we do. This is why we got into the business, to give you a heads up. Technology has helped us tremendously just within the last 20 years, being able to give you this kind of notice. I mean, to be able to tell Gilman City and all these areas east of here, heads up, treat it as if a tornado were heading for you right now, get to your safe place. And Nick, I like what he said too, turn the volume up. If you can't watch us through stream or whatever, turn the volume up on the television and we'll let you know when things are all clear. And we've not given the all clear for those of you like in Albany, simply because even though the tornado warning may not be in Albany, but look at the moderate to heavy rainfall you're getting right now. And things are so unsettled. I mean, we're just not going to take that chance and risk to say, okay, everything looks fine. It doesn't. Nick's put the radar in rotation mode. I mean, look at this. And it's detecting the rotation still there. And this is just along I-35 south of Bethany, Missouri, okay? But what you're seeing here is tracking eastward. And Nick, it has been pretty much spot on east direction. If this continues that, then it's going to be glazing very close to Gilman City very shortly. All right.
Now, I know that's messy. I just popped that on just to see.
That's okay.
It's a swath, so it tracks the rotation over the last 30 to 60 minutes, so you can really see it is moving just pretty much due east. You know, that big blob of, I don't know what you call it, a burgundy shade.
I said path, and that triggered his mind. Look what he did. He said, well, I can show a
I might be able to cut out some of the, there. See all that red?
Look at that.
That's the rotation within the supercell over the last 30 minutes. So it is moving east, ever so slightly southeast, but mostly east. It's hugging the boundary.
Stanberry,
That's what it's doing.
Albany, New Hampton, south of Bethany. Wow.
Yep, we'll put that on there.
You're right.
It
Look at
doesn't look like the rotation is as strong, which is good, which is to say it appears that it is weakening for the time being. It looks like that air that's wrapping around the backside of the hook might be cutting the inflow off. So those are processes that would weaken the storm.
Yeah.
So that's good. That could change as it keeps going along that boundary. That boundary may interact with that storm in a way favorable for that storm to become more likely to produce a tornado. So we still need to respect that warning. That's why we're staying on. This stuff changes minute by minute. It doesn't change, every 10, 15, 30 minutes, during just your commercial breaks. It changes minute by minute. It really does warrant vigilance for our friends to the north there, near Bethany and Gilman City and Spiggard.
And this is why we always have team coverage, because this gives me another set of eyes. I mean, yes, we've been educated in this field, but let me tell you, there's so many dynamics going on with these storms, and navigating everything we're looking at. These are things that we've been trained to look for, and Nick is right. And it's encouraging. Not going to get my hopes up too high, but if that hook is not well defined as it was earlier, and also, I'm sorry, did you put the current rotation on there? Did you already look at that? I just kind of.
Yep.
All right.
So there's the shear rate.
He's running back and forth, kind of navigating it. Oh, okay, all right, there we go. Okay, it's still there, but you're right, it's not as strong as it was.
Yeah, you're not seeing those burgundies or reds.
Okay.
There's the velocities. It's broader. Typically when you get them closer together or over a shorter distance, it can be stronger. But when you see this real broad, over miles and miles, that puts me a little bit more at ease with the potential of a tornado, imminent potential of a tornado. But it's still on that boundary, and I don't trust outflow boundaries. No. Y'all shouldn't trust them either. That's why we want you in your safe place, especially in Gilman City or just the north of Gilman City, if you live in East Gentry County, and then eventually into Spiggard. The storm could just intensify again. It really could.
I think, if I'm correct, Nick, on our group chat earlier today, you said that I don't trust the outflow boundary.
I don't.
Didn't you text that?
Don't trust outflow boundaries, especially in May. It doesn't take a whole lot in the month of May for these storms to produce tornadoes with the type of ingredients that we have in place right now. I think that storm is weakening. At least the rotation in that storm is weakening. Still probably going to produce hail, but that storm and the storm behind it, we're not going anywhere. We're going to watch them.
No, we're going to watch this. As long as there's a blip on the radar in an unsettled day like this, we're going to be here and watching this. And I mentioned this earlier, all 6 of us group chat every day about the weather setup, what's going on, and so forth. So no one was unprepared for this, okay? We were just kind of being hopeful that it would not evolve to this, but it has. And that's why areas like in northwest, north central Missouri, it's your time to be prepared and take safety very seriously, especially with a strong thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm that is producing not only rotation, but a brief funnel cloud was reported earlier, and a wall cloud. That's some serious stuff. And that's why we're not going to get off the air until we see this really dissipate and die off, and when the threat is over with. But in the meantime, the tornado warning continues. We still see the rotation. This will put it right along I-35 south of Bethany, right in here. The hook is not well as defined as it was the past hour or so, but it is still there. We're still detecting the rotation in different levels of the thunderstorm itself. And of course, we have the strong storm that's right behind it, okay? And there's a little bit of there right in this area. Still, it's right there on I-35. Okay, and now it's just, there we go. All right, still the rotation there. All right, again, I guess we can still focus on Gilman City here. Gilman City getting a moderate shower, but if that rotation holds together, it's going to continue to track eastward about 30 miles an hour and put those of you like in Gilman City under that threat of a possible tornado that can drop at any time. We're not seeing the rotation. It seemed like it was on that straight path. New Hampton's still getting some heavy rainfall. Albany, you're getting pounded with some heavy rainfall right now. But the track of the rotation has been just south of these three cities, and will take it very close to Gilman City if it holds together. And we're hopeful. I mean, we keep hoping that as we get more data in here, that it's going to weaken, and we can provide that information to you and be encouraging. The last report, as Nick and I both were looking at it, it has slightly weakened, and I mean slightly, but we're not at that point yet to say we're going to be just fine, okay? We're going to continue to give the information. And those of you watching, like in the Kansas City metro area, I know we're preempting the basketball game and things like that, but you know what? We cover 44 counties, and we're going to treat every county equally. And this is why we're going to give them storm coverage when we have the possible tornado threat. And this is going to happen wherever you are. We're responsible for the people of Bethany when it comes to severe weather, in Gilman City and New Hampton, and we're going to let them know that they are under a tornado warning and keep a close eye on this radar as it continues to these storms tracking in the eastward direction. Very unsettled weather pattern we're in. It is the month of May. It is the beginning month of May. We just celebrated our anniversary of 20 years ago of the tornado of May 4th of '03. This is why April and May are our key months to watch for these things. Okay, and once we actually get into June, things start to settle down just a bit, and we get into just the heat and humidity. Well, it felt like summer today. However, that doesn't mean we're in the clear when it comes to spring severe weather threat. And this is he's looping us now. We call it a loop. Take you back in time. Watch the clock here. We start at around 6:25. When it's over here, and watch the track of it moving east. And Nick, you're right, the hook echo has weakened a little bit. It's not well defined as it was earlier. But you know, if I were to just come into work and see that hook echo even as it is right now, I'd be really concerned.
That's a good way to say it. You know, we have the luxury of we've watched it, but if you come right in, it's like, oh, I need to get on air and start warning people immediately.
Yeah, the way it looks right now, and I came into work and saw that on radar, I'd say, okay, I'm a little concerned about this, because guess what? It's still a hook echo. It still has the rotation, all right? So that's why we got to treat this very seriously. And he put it in rotation mode. Did you see all that? All right, and tornado warning in effect till 7:15. That would include Gilman City. And I'm going to look, we're still talking about Spickard there. Now, Spickard's just getting not even maybe light rain at most ahead of this storm. I'm sure they're feeling out the nice gust front of this storm, some cooler air starting to work its way in. But then you see the moderate to heavy rainfall just north of Gilman City. All right. Hail reports, I think earlier.
I mean, you just read my mind. I was getting ready to say,
go
just
ahead.
got a report.
Hey, we're tuned in. Go right ahead.
4 miles south of Bethany, 2.5 inch.
2.5 inches.
So that's just shy of baseball. Big hail. Big hail. Even if that storm, as that storm shows some signs of weakening, you get those big hailstones that are suspended aloft by that rotating updraft, and if the storm weakens, sometimes you just get a big fallout. And I'm just reading, sporadic 2.5 inch size hail reported by spotters just a few miles down the road on I-35 from Bethany. So that's damaging hail. It might be destructive hail if that goes over your vehicle, almost baseball size.
While you're driving.
Yeah.
That's
the wind to contend with. Yeah, especially over an interstate. I don't know if the desk is listening to this, if there might be any reports of vehicles or semis now that are on I-35 up there as that storm came over. Cars could have been
Jackson's over there as a standby.
Off the road, that type of thing. I mean, that's pretty big hail.
Keep an eye on I-35 and traffic up there.
Yeah.
With all the hail reported and so forth. That's a good point.
I just got another hail report here.
Okay.
This is about 2 miles south of Bethany. Mostly quarters with golf balls to baseball size hail mixed in. Winds were gusting at 60 miles per hour with the wall cloud. That was at 6:52. That was 5 minutes ago. There has to be some hail damage through there. I mean, you got baseball-sized hail being driven by 60-mile-an-hour winds. There's going to be hail. There's going to be damage.
You're going to have hail damage and possibly wind damage.
Yeah, anywhere from Bethany, a few miles south of Bethany, and some of the areas there in central Harrison County.
And another thing we can also mention is if you've got a thunderstorm that's already showing the rotation that we've seen on this for some time now, it's a strong thunderstorm. That's why we call them severe thunderstorms. And there's going to be some damage regardless. Whether it drops a tornado or not, it's going to do some damage. Might be interested to see, are there any power outages up there because of this? But you've got damaging winds. You've got the large size hail that's being reported already, especially very close to I-35 or on I-35. Be kind of interesting to see what the reports do come in about south of Bethany. But then, I shouldn't put all the focus on the tornadic threat from this storm because, again, all this you see here, this is a severe thunderstorm in itself. And you're talking about damaging winds at 60 miles an hour or greater. And you're also talking about 1-inch size hail or greater, okay? That's what this storm is producing regardless of what part of the storm you're in, especially in this darker shaded area here. Now, on top of that, we've got the strong rotation, which is just on the back end of this storm, which is right here, what we call the hook echo. It's difficult to say the back end anymore because look what's happened. The one behind it's kind of merged with it a little bit, okay? So now, what used to be the back end is almost a very large, long thunderstorm, but this is the area that's been producing the rotation. And with the brief funnel cloud and wall cloud, a brief touchdown has been reported with this. We've been tracking this since it was well past west of Albany and southwest of Albany. And it continues to track in an east direction about 30 miles an hour. So whether you live in Ridgeway, which you're getting a light shower, and just south of there, you're getting moderate to heavy rainfall, or you live even in Princeton, okay? Even though it's not hit you yet in Princeton, you're going to be dealing with some strong winds. You're dealing with some moderate to heavy rainfall and some possible damaging hail to go with that. Now, those of you like in Gilman City, you get possibly all that in addition to the area that's produced the rotation, which is just west of Gilman City. So those of you in Gilman City should take this very seriously and get to the lowest level of your home and turn up the volume. We'll let you know if and when you're in the clear from this thunderstorm as it continues to track eastward, okay? Albany, it's almost safe to say you're going to be okay because the bulk of it now, even though this other thunderstorm behind the big one has now developed and affecting New Hampton, Albany, things are starting to taper off for you, okay? But I want you to be alert until at least 11 o'clock tonight because guess what? You are under a tornado watch, which means conditions are favorable to possibly produce a tornado until 11 o'clock. And it covers almost all of the counties in the north portions of Missouri. Now, when it comes to Bethany and Gilman City, the tornado warning is there. You should be at your lowest level, which is the basement, lowest level of your home if you don't have a basement, and separate yourself as much as you can from the outside. So the interior parts of your home, putting more walls between you and the outside. So sometimes it's a hallway, sometimes that is a bathroom, closet, things like that, until we give you the all clear. And we haven't done that as of yet, but I'm a little encouraged by what we're seeing when the hook is still there. It's like, I keep hoping it will disappear, but it's still there. And this is now approaching Gilman City. Right here would be where our rotation would be. And then we got to deal with all the heavy rainfall. I mean, Nick, it looks like they've issued a severe thunderstorm warning
They have.
west. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad. It's not a tornado warning. That's good.
It's going to be for big hail. I mean, just these storms are primed for big hail. You know, the wind, in the mid and upper levels of those storms are just tremendously fast. So you have so much lift overhead that it's just acting as a vacuum so that you can suspend those heavier hailstones within the thunderstorm. So it just could make the hail potential bigger. That's why we have baseball-sized hail. There's one thing that concerns me here. That back storm is showing some sign of intensification. If that front storm is slowing down, my concern would be for the back storm to catch up and there be some type of a merger here, or the storm that's to the west that's just south of New Hampton becomes our dominant supercell. So it's something that we need to monitor closely over the next 30 to 60 minutes. As these storms run along that outflow boundary, they ebb, they flow, they interact with that boundary, they can become less or more favorable. Storm mergers happen, and they can happen quickly. I mean, they can go from what we have right now, which is, two big supercells cranking out large hail, with occasional wall clouds, to rapidly rotating, tornadoes are down type of situation. So this still, if you are anywhere in Harrison County, south of Bethany on I-35, right where Pete's pointing, over toward Gilman City, and then We're going to keep saying it, downstream near Spickard. Trenton.
Sickard, let me step out.
Yeah, Trenton, a 65 highway from Trenton south to, or north of Trenton to Spickard. You know, I would start thinking about getting to where I would need to be for a intense thunderstorm and very large hail and the possibility of tornadoes. And storms are moving in an environment that's favorable for not only tornadoes, but baseball-size hail, which is significant. You know, quarters and half dollars, you know, that's big. We get those from a lot of severe thunderstorms here in the Midwest. You start talking about tennis ball and baseball size hail, that's significant. We want you indoors for that. So I'm going to watch that closely here on the radar, Pete, see how these two storms interact, because I think they're now close enough to each other that they're going to start playing off one each other, so to speak. Each other.
Yeah,
Rather to say that.
It's like yeah, I know. We got to watch this now very carefully. Not to rule out the tornado warning has been issued, but we've got to watch this one as they kind of merge together there. Now, while we're looking at this would be a good time to remind you of a couple of things. Look, I know some of you are waiting to watch the NBA playoffs game. I've been told that it has not started. It is in the pregame show, okay? And what's going to happen is if we end up having to stay on, I want to say this, first of all, we cover 44 counties. We treat all of our 44 counties in Kansas and Missouri respectfully, equally. And if this were your county under this tornado threat, we would be on letting you know about it. So we are letting the people in northern Missouri know what's going on. Safety comes first. Now, for the rest of you who are just getting the heat and humidity, which is probably the majority of you right now in our viewing area, you will see the ball game. What's going to happen is if Nick and I end up having to stay on longer because of this tornado warning, okay, and the game starts, they're going to put us in what we call a dual box. Am I correct, Melody, by saying that? It's a dual box. You will get to watch the game, but okay, they're giving us a demonstration. Okay, you can watch the game in one of these boxes while the other box will be Nick and myself telling the people in northern Missouri about what's happening in their area regarding the tornado itself, all right, the tornado warning. So be assured, you will see the game. You might have to deal with us for a little bit longer, and as soon as the tornado threat is over with, or we don't have any tornado warnings, and they're allowed to expire, we will get off the air. But if another tornado warning is issued, we're back on. I'm telling you like it is. It's always been that way. It will be that way as long as I'm on this planet, because safety comes first, and we are going to let people know, like in Gilman City, that you have rotation and a tornado, possible tornado that is forming just west of you, and it's heading for your town. So you should be in your shelter immediately. The lowest level of your home. Basements are great, but if you don't have a basement, that's fine, because stay on your lowest level, the main floor, and be away from the outer walls, the windows, and put yourself in a spot towards the middle of the home where you have more, let's say, wall space, walls between you and the outside, just in case a tornado does come through in your neighborhood, okay, to help protect you. You want to put those barriers around you. Gilman City, that's our concern right now. Now, we've not had any confirmation of a tornado on the ground with this right now, but the hook is still there with the possible rotation being detected on our radar. And those of you just north of Gilman, you're getting pounded with some heavy rainfall. You've heard Nick talk about the size of hail being reported with this. I mean, up to almost baseball-sized hail along I-35, not too far from Bethany. And then we're looking at out to the west. This was a storm in itself. We pointed out, like, oh, there's one behind it, and look what it's doing. You almost cannot tell that they're two separate anymore. They basically are becoming as one. And he puts this in loop mode. You can see at the beginning, they are two separate storms. Now they've almost merged to be one storm. And I think you pointed this out, Nick, just before I started saying that. You also want to keep an eye on this area right in there. Okay, even though that's a severe thunderstorm warning, which means wind speeds up to 60 miles an hour or greater, okay, and or hail, 1-inch size hail or greater. And these storms have been producing both. They've been at least producing damaging winds and large size hail with these storms. And that would issue a severe thunderstorm warning right here. But when you start detecting rotation and you start saying, okay, funnel clouds, so forth, like right here, The red block, this drawing here, is a tornado warning. So you got the tornado warning here, severe thunderstorm warning here. You take both of these as serious as you can until this completely moves out. Now, those of you in Albany, okay, we're not seeing any redevelopment west of here, west of you. And what you see the closest to Albany is southeastward. New Hampton, most of the bulk of that is just east-southeast of you. As this continues to track in the east direction, which it is, about 30 miles an hour, you're going to be in the clear here very shortly, okay? Not ready to give you the all clear just yet, but Albany, things look much better for you right now, along with New Hampton. But we got to keep a close eye again on Bethany southward. And also especially east when we talk about Gilman City. There's the rotation. Nick has put the radar into rotation mode. Now, you don't see the precipitation. What you do see are the winds creating that rotation in the thunderstorm cloud itself. And the radar is detecting it. I'll step out and let you look at that. And okay, well, do you see in your severe thunderstorm warning box, what do you see there? I'm asking my viewers because that's rotation. Okay, a little bit of rotation. This is just west of I-35. This is south of New Hampton. This is southwest of Bethany. This is the same path that this one has taken over the last hour or so. It's moved from west to east in a due east direction about 30 miles an hour. And so not only are we dealing with this, we have now got to keep an eye on this one because it's now producing not only heavy, that's probably some big size hail in that. I'm just looking at the radar imagery alone. And I don't know, Nick.
I think the presentation looks more favorable. I think they've strengthened again. I think they've intensified some. Just seeing some pictures from some chaser friends that are out in the field right now. Both storms have very large bowl-shaped lowerings, rain-free bases, wall clouds, at times producing funnel clouds. I mean, just structurally, what we're seeing on radar and what I'm seeing from the pictures that are being sent to me on Twitter, those storms are capable of producing at least tennis ball size hail. And then there's the tornado threat as well. Severe thunderstorm warning will continue for Pattonsburg, Coffee, and McFall, Missouri until 7:30.
So to reiterate, you said tennis ball?
I would say they're capable of producing at least
capable of producing tennis
ball. I've been getting pictures of tennis ball, and we've had baseball size hail. We do not want you to get out there during the storm and take those pictures. You know, if you want to venture out afterwards, after it's been at least 30 minutes without hearing any thunder, so the lightning threat is gone, and you can see those hailstones in your yard, we would love to have those pictures to help tell the story, but we want you to get them in a safe way. You need to wait until all those storms pass and you don't hear any thunder for at least 30 minutes. You know, that way there's, you know, very little risk of lightning. But, you know, at the end of the day, we don't need your pictures that bad. We need you to be safe. You know, we need you to be safe. So
as we said earlier, safety is the key thing. That's why we love the science part of this, but safety is why we chose to be in this career, so that we're living in a day and age where the technology has advanced so much, where we not only can predict what's going to happen weather-wise and giving you a forecast, but this is amazing technology that we're using, and it's real. It does help save lives. And anytime we see these types of signatures, when it comes to the hook echoes or the dynamics of the atmosphere and the unsettled weather patterns, everything all comes together. And again, this is all part of the group chat that we had earlier today, talking about the possibilities of what could happen even today and through tonight. And it's coming true. All right, and I'm just saying that's why we get into this. We discuss this daily so that we could be prepared to tell you, Gilman City, that the rotation has been very strong and that you will continue, and you should be, in your safe place right now as this storm goes over Gilman City, continues to track eastward about 30 miles an hour. Those of you south of Bethany, when you look at along I-35, this is nothing to laugh at. This is another strong to severe thunderstorm that could possibly produce a tornado. And it's lining up just behind the other one. So Gilman City may have to be hunkered down for a bit, because we got to watch this one as it holds together, continues to track eastward. It's encouraging for Albany. Albany, things are looking much better for you. New Hampton, I think, is going to be okay, unless something else is developed west of here. But like I said, our main focus has been northwest, north central Missouri because of this setup. And the tornado watch that's in effect does not include Kansas City metro area. It includes this part of the state of Missouri until 11 o'clock tonight. Okay, Nick's doing what we call looking at the radar, dealing with the wind flow. Okay, wind blowing towards the radar site and away from the radar site, and you can see the contrast and kind of what's going on, dealing with the winds itself. I'm seeing it along I-35 there, and also Gilman City.
There's a new severe thunderstorm warning.
Okay, so they've extended this
Zoom out here.
into a severe thunderstorm warning. I'll step out and let you see it. That's going to include Trenton and Spickard. Now, they've allowed the tornado warning to expire. I'm not ready to say goodbye just yet. So the reason why is because we just want to look at a little more data. And if it holds together like this, here's what our plan of action here at Channel 9, okay? Always take severe thunderstorm warnings seriously. I mean, we're talking about size hail like Nick was reporting, or damaging winds of 60 mile per hour wind speeds or greater. That's another safety hazard, okay? Power outages, things like that. So take severe thunderstorm warnings, which this is, until 8 o'clock, right? Which this is, take that seriously. But if we are downgraded where we don't have any more tornado warnings and we're not seeing that strong rotation, okay, then we'll eventually, hopefully soon, bow out, go off the air, but our jobs aren't done. We're going to watch the radar all night long and keep an eye. If another tornado warning is issued, we're back on here, and we're going to let those people know where the tornado warning is. Does that make sense? I'm going to say it one more time. We cover 44 counties, eastern Kansas, west Missouri. We are responsible in letting anyone in those 44 counties know of this magnitude, okay, so that we can preach the safety and get them in a safe cover and take cover immediately as these storms move on through. And that's the policy. It's a great one, and we're going to do it from here on out. Doesn't matter, all right? I guess I'm being told that we're still in the pregame show. Is that right, Melody? Melody's our producer. I'm singing it. All right, so you've not missed any of the basketball game, okay? All right? Those who are waiting to see the game, you will see it. And if we're still talking on the air while the game starts, you're going to see a dual box where you can watch the game until we think the severe weather threat of tornado is over with for the temporary time that we're in. So what we're looking at right now, a severe thunderstorm warning for those of you like in Gilman City, Spickard, Trenton. That does include, it looks like Galt, Missouri is on the far right side of that box. All right, that's until 8 o'clock this evening. The storm behind it, that's another severe thunderstorm warning. As Nick pointed out, you're getting heavy rainfall. No doubt, I bet they're getting hail with this storm. This is just south of Bethany. Bethany's getting a moderate shower, but you travel along I-35, that is some heavy rainfall, possibly some hail right along the interstate there. We've got to keep an eye on this right here. We're always going to look for a little bit of hook echo, see if there's any rotation in these. And these storms have held together pretty nicely, and they move about eastward around 30 miles an hour, okay? And they're going to continue to track. The weather pattern is going to be a little unsettled from this point all the way until 11 o'clock. There is a tornado watch, which means conditions are favorable for a tornado to form. A tornado warning means a funnel cloud, a rotation, or a tornado have been confirmed with that thunderstorm, and that's why tornado warnings are issued for specific counties and areas. All right, and so we're just doing a quick one. Give us about 30 more seconds. Nick, I just want to check with you one more time before we turn it back over to ABC. Your final thoughts for this part, and we're going to keep an eye on the thunderstorms from this point forward.
Yeah, Metro's in the clear right now. It's just those two storms up there. There are currently no tornado warnings, but they are still in an environment that is favorable for tornado production. Right now, they're just big hailers, which, that's a big deal. But currently, no tornado warnings. But we are going to watch it. Don't be surprised if we jump off and then in 5 minutes we get back on with a tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service. That's how quickly things can change with this type of setup.
That's right, and that is our job. We will leave what we call the crawl and the weather bug on the top of your screen, even during the basketball game. So if a severe thunderstorm warning with the yellow shading here is issued, you'll get that information stream across the top of your screen. Okay, we're going to be here for the rest of the night watching things. Enjoy the basketball game. We hope we don't see you again until 9 and 10 o'clock later on this evening.